This is the GTN Show, and it's not just any show, it's our 100th, and time certainly flies when you're having fun, and this week is no different because the show is action-packed, full of race results, including a piece from on the ground at Challenge Roth. We've also got some more extreme challenges, and of course, Mark has snuck in a little bit of tech news.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I could not resist. We're also going to be revisiting our 2019 predictions as yet another has well and truly been ticked off. We're also going to be looking ahead towards what is panning out to be a very exciting season, especially with Kona just around the corner. Well, this last weekend we had one of the most iconic events in the triathlon calendar. We had Challenge Roth. Now this event is something special. It sells out within less than an hour most years. So much so, actually some athletes try and head out the year prior and essentially try and get like an early bird slot. So they try and enter the event in the prize giving. Now it attracts an impressive pro lineup every year. We've had some incredible times. We've had actually the male and female iron distance records set at this event. Jan Frodeno posted a time of 7 hours, 35 minutes and 39 seconds, and Chrissy Wellington holds that female iron distance record of 8 hours, 18 minutes and 13 seconds from this course.
Well remembered. Well, it certainly does attract the big names, and last year's winner on the women's side, Daniela Blemmer, was back to defend her title, as was runner-up Lucy Charles-Barclay. Then on the men's side, there's some strong bikers. You had Andy Dreitz entering, Cam Wurf, Andy Bokra as well, so it looked like it was going to be a very exciting event. But luckily, we had Fraser there on the ground, and he's been catching up with the pros all week and also got to watch the race firsthand, so hopefully he's got a bit of a report for us here.
So that stadium that's over my shoulder in the background, I've just left there here in the Challenge Roth Finish and Expo area. A cracking atmosphere in there because the female podium has just finished, crossed the line in the last few minutes, led home in the first place by Lucy Charles, and I'll give myself a pat on the back because I guess that was my prediction from the get-go. And the race really played into her strengths because it was a non-wetsuit swim here for the first time in Challenge Roth. The water was at 24 degrees, so non-wetsuits meant that Lucy was absolutely flying in the water. She had a minutes and minutes lead. In fact, she was as fast as almost all but the lead male. So that really put her in the driving seat. She had a large gap coming into T2, and then she never faltered on the marathon. Sarah Crowley battled hard, closed the gap to 4 minutes at one point in the marathon, but that was as close as she got. And then we had Daniela Blemmer, who finished third here, defending champion. Now I'll let myself off because she wasn't even on the start list till 2 days ago. She had a bad race last weekend in Frankfurt, DNF there, and got herself on the start line here. So that was our podium at Challenge Roth on the women's side. Moving on to the men's, and we had a very exciting race indeed. I don't want to say a more exciting race, but certainly a lot more changes and dynamics in that race. We had a very fast swim from Sweden's Jesper Svensson. He's an Ironman Barcelona winner from last year, so a very good athlete. He had 2 minutes on the next few athletes: Andy Potts, David McNamee, Braden Curry from New Zealand, and then you had a lot of other athletes coming out in dribs and drabs behind. Favourites for the race, you could say: Cameron Wurf, quite a long way behind. Bart Ehrenurt's also a previous winner here, quite a long way behind. So a lot of work to be done by those guys on the bike ride, and they really went to work and pushed hard to get into the lead positions on the bike. And that's what happened. We had the German pair of Andy Bokra and Andy Dreitz really pushing on into the final stretches of the bike. Cameron Wurf seemed to have a bit of a rough patch, even though he's noted as one of the strongest riders in the sport. And they all came off the bike with quite a few minutes staggered between them. And then the likes of Bart Ehrenurt's quite far down. David McNamee unfortunately had a puncture on the bike, so he came off the bike some 15 minutes back in about 10th position. So onto the marathon, and we had the German pair of Andy Bokra and Andy Dreitz head to head as they started running shoulder to shoulder. A few minutes back we had Andy Potts in third, and then again we had the big favourites coming in quite a few minutes behind, the likes of Braden Curry, then Bart Ehrnert, then David McNamee and others besides. A lot of dynamic happened on that marathon course. Up and down the canal there was changes. Andy Potts pushed forward, he got into a really good position, it felt, pushing for the podium. But then again, all seemed to change when we got towards the finish area. Andy Dreitz had surged ahead. Yes, Svensson had pushed on to get himself into second place, and it was actually Cameron Wurf who held on. Very solid run from him, not noted for his marathon speed. He was in third, and close behind him, Bart Ehrenurt's had surged through the course, as had David McNamee, so they were your fourth and fifth places. So very exciting towards the last part of this marathon. But our winner this year was second place from last year, Andy Dreit.
Well, that was one heck of a race, but we do have to pick Fraser up on something here now, because you may remember at the beginning of the year, we set some predictions as a channel here on GTN for 2019. Now that included things like the Ironman bike record being broken, Laura Phillip getting on the podium at the Ironman World Championships, and Fraser bigging up a Scottish athlete.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that we actually had to wait until July. So well done, Fraser, on holding off that long. And we can't blame him that much because he caught up with his good friend Dave McNamee out at Challenge Roth. And he did include him quite substantially in the predictions video. He actually predicted him to get on the podium. Now, sadly for Dave's sake, he didn't quite make it onto the podium, but he did finish 5th with a very strong marathon to finish off. I think it's a 2:41, did he say?
Yes.
So yeah, so maybe not completely the curse of Fraser there.
Yeah, when I'm talking of fast run splits, actually back to the race itself, someone I was really impressed with over the weekend was Cam Wurf. Now he finished 3rd in the end. Admittedly, his bike was perhaps a little bit off par, not what we'd expect. I think he was a couple of minutes behind the fastest bike split of the day, whereas we ordinarily see Cam posting the fastest bike split and breaking records. But his run was really impressive. He posted a 2:50 marathon, which is quite a step up for Cam. I mean, considering where he's come from over the past couple of years, last year we saw him at Kona leading off the bike and then fading on the run. And then the year before that, his run has come on a huge deal over these past 2 years.
Yeah, it certainly has, and we've obviously predicted him actually of breaking the record again for the bike course at Kona, but maybe we need to sort of change that and start to ask a bigger question. I mean, Kona is on the horizon. Could we see a new champion on the top step in Kona?
Yeah, well it's a very interesting debate. So I'm gonna ask you guys, do you think Cameron Wurf could win the Ironman World Championships out in Kona in Hawaii? Simple yes or no. You can enter that poll by clicking just up here, and we'd be very interested to see the results from that one.
Yeah.
But now for last week's poll, we asked you, would you be happy if Ironman shortened their race distance for athlete safety? Now this was around the Ironman Frankfurt race last weekend and Ironman Nice, where we had extreme temperatures. Ironman Nice shortened the distance, Ironman Frankfurt didn't. So yeah, let's go for the results, Heather.
Yeah, well, interestingly, 40% of you said yes, and from the way you guys worded that question, I think that's quite surprising that 40% say, athlete safety, and they still wouldn't mind. So I'm surprised at that. No for 60%. But there's quite a few comments underneath that. We've got one here from Chris J. Boyce. I was unfortunately a DNF in Frankfurt. Didn't want the course shortened. An Ironman is meant to be tough. Yeah, we hear you. But I would like to have seen the organisers allow more time for age groupers to safely finish without compromising health to hit the cutoff. Controversial one.
Yeah, Jan So said, I finished the Ironman Frankfurt on Sunday and walked part of the marathon, but I'd rather finish a full Ironman than a shortened one. Even if it hurts more and takes longer, that is part of a full distance race. Yeah,
there's quite a few like that. Andrew Herndon, as an age group athlete, after a year of dedicated training, be mad not to do the full distance. And I hear that, and I think it's so different for age groupers to pros as well.
Definitely.
Of that, especially if you've got one race.
But we did also have quite a few people fighting the safety side of things, and one came from the Otter, said, wow, I'm a little surprised by the poll. As a race director, you make decisions based on the entire field, not the individual athlete. If it comes down to risking health or feelings, I would risk feelings any day over their health. So yeah, I'd imagine as a race director or an organiser, you're always
going to put first, haven't you?
Yeah.
Well, following on from Mark and Fraser's discussion a couple of weeks ago in the show, talking about extreme triathlons, we spotted one that's a little bit different and involves an 80-pound tree. Now, Brandon Rinker from Canada has been inspired by Britain's Ross Edgley, who actually did a triathlon carrying a tree to basically say this was the strongest triathlon. And Brandon has now taken on this challenge to be the first Canadian to complete an Olympic distance triathlon with an 80-pound tree. So he's going to be towing it through the swim, he's strapping it to his back for the cycle, and then I think he's carrying it just across his shoulders for the run. He's hoping to raise awareness for the environment and also his local charity. So it's certainly something that's a little bit different.
It is very different. Imagine trying to get past him on the bike.
Well, no, I think it's pretty lethal because it looks rather wide.
Though you might be a little bit disappointed if someone carrying a log is ahead of you in a triathlon.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. You may have noticed riders or ambassadors for the bike brand Giant using and riding on components with the branding #overachieve. Now, we've actually done some pro bikes in the past with that branding on it. Now, it actually turns out that these were just prototypes for their newly released Cadex components, which we can see being ridden by the CCC team at the current Tour de France. Now, a little fact for you here, Giant actually first used the name Cadex in 1985 for their full carbon road bike at the time. So this branding is a little bit of a nod to that first carbon road bike of theirs. Now, in terms of what is involved in this Cadex componentry setup, they've got wheels, tires and saddles. So they've got 42mm wheel set, 65mm wheel set, a disc wheel and even a 4-spoke front wheel. So very impressive move by Giant, all with its own proprietary hubs in there, and they're going to be released next month.
Yeah, it looks pretty special and exciting. Well, going back to challenges, it does seem to be the time of year that we see quite a lot of attempts, especially in the Northern Hemisphere when the conditions are more favourable. And you certainly want favourable conditions for this challenge. It's the Enduro Man, which I think we have talked about on the show before. It is an 87-mile run, a 21-mile channel swim across the English Channel, followed by a 181-mile cycle to finish. It's called the Arch, so from Marble Arch in London to the Arc de Triomphe, so the Arch to Arc. And recently we've had the first team entered from Kazakhstan. They named themselves the Iron Mums, and they started on the 2nd of July to take this challenge on. 4 of them actually managed to rotate through all of the disciplines, and it looks as though they have finished. I think they're still waiting for it to be completely certified, but there's also been another finisher. We've had Callum Mures from Great Britain, who completed it in 91 hours in a solo effort. So he now becomes the 38th member of the Enduro Man Club. So some impressive endurance efforts going on at the moment.
Incredible, isn't it? Now, following on from our Challenge Athletes Foundation video that went out a couple of weeks ago and seemed to get a lot of thumbs ups and likes from you guys. Now, there's an opportunity for them to claim a bit of a bonus, I guess. Now, the New York City Triathlon, which is a very iconic event, is actually having its course changed. So this year it takes place on the 21st of July. It's the last opportunity to race over that original course for the New York Triathlon, and also the last chance for you to beat the course record time, which is set by Hunter Kemper in 2001. It's a time of 1 hour, 41 and 20 seconds. But what they've done, the race organizer Lifetime have said that if anyone does beat that time, individual or even team relay, they will donate $25,000 to the Challenge Athletes Foundation.
Yeah, it's quite an offer, isn't it? And the fact that they're putting it open to relay teams as well really shows how fast that record is. I mean, it's sat there since 2001, and I think this event has attracted the likes of Michele Jones, the Olympic silver medalist in triathlon from Sydney. You've got retired cyclist, professional cyclist Floyd Landis, who's going to be rocking up. Not sure if they're in the same team or not, but hopefully we will see the record broken, not just for the history books, but also obviously for the Challenged Athlete Foundation. And the course is having to change because there's some construction work going on in New York City, and the iconic route is actually going to have to go the other way in the river. Now, I thought this was up the river, but actually it turns out that they time the event and it actually changes from a few weeks each year because they have to make sure the tide is going in the right direction to help the athletes with the upstream. Then they're still going to cycle around Manhattan, but I think the finish is slightly different. But significantly though, sadly, the entries are going to be quite significantly reduced. So it's going to be even harder to get into quite an iconic event.
Yeah, but now finally, we're actually going to throw back to Fraser here, because whilst he was out in Roth, he actually got the opportunity to catch up with Cam Wurf, but quite excitingly, got to look at some of his kit, and you know how much I like my kit and tech.
So starting off with this speed suit from Castelli, and I'm really intrigued to have a look at this because it is brand new prototype. It's going to be launched at Ironman World Championships in Nice this coming September. But right now, Cameron's the only one going to be racing in it. And there's some key feature changes to previous all-out speed suit that Castelli have on the market already. Most notably here in the shoulder construction. Brand new shoulder construction in here in their panels, which is even faster aerodynamically. And talking about those aerodynamics, Castelli have worked very closely with a university in Norway to create these advanced technologies in the suit. And that's about all I can talk about in these right now. It is a similar design to their previous all-out speed suit. Still has some long arms that come down to the elbows, a little bit longer in the leg. But in general, this is very lightweight. So the whole suit is lighter. There's a much stretchier fabric, Castelli tell me. It does feel like it would be really easy and supple to be in. So all in all, I think this is going to be a really exciting suit once it gets onto the market.
Well, we have some prize winners to announce. Now, a few weeks back now, Fraser actually unboxed the brand new ON Cloudstratus shoes, which are quite different, quite special. And we have 5 winners from that unboxing. Our first one up is Sean Bacon.
Congratulations, Sean. Also, we have a pair of shoes for Logan Duffy.
We have one for Marique Toussaint.
Jens Hoog as well.
And James Lofthouse. So congratulations to you all. You have got a pair of ON Cloudstratus coming your way. We're now for the race news, and we're going to kick things off here with Xterra France, which is a pretty iconic race on the Xterra scene. Very challenging and very cool course. Now, it was Jens Roth that led the men's swim out with Will Cruddington on his heels, and then a small group about a minute back, and then the main contenders a further minute back again. Now, it was Maxime Shane that really took the charge early on the bike and had the lead by about 10k in, with Arthur Serres and Arthur Fraser really trying to bridge that gap in just about 20 seconds down at that point. Coming into the bike to run transition, they had managed to do just that and bridge that gap and were in the lead. And it came down to a really fast running race between the two. It was actually Fraser that managed to edge ahead and take that win by just 9 seconds over Sierra's. Both actually breaking Ruben Razafa's 5-year winning streak at this event, although he did manage to claim that 3rd spot.
Well, on the women's side, it was Nicole Waters who led out of the water and had quite a significant lead, and the others didn't manage to make much of an impact on it for the first half of the bike. But by the time it came into the second transition, it was Elise Patiez who'd actually opened up that gap and had a 2-minute advantage over Morgan Rue, her teammate, and then Helen Koiskova was another 30 seconds back from that. And then onto the run with that advantage, it did look as though Elise Patiez was going to be really hard to catch, and nothing really happened. The gap started to close, and it wasn't until the final K that Morgan Rue came through to take the overall win. Elise Patiez had to settle for second, and Helena Koiskova finished in 3rd.
Well, following on with the Xterra results, we also had Xterra Victoria this weekend. Now, the men's race was won by Sam Osborne, second went to Hazaya Middle, and then in 3rd it was Karsten Madsen.
And the women's side, first was Samantha Kingsford, second we had Susie Snyder, and 3rd was Melanie McQuaid.
Now moving over onto the Ironman side of things, we had Ironman Austria this weekend. Now, Daniel Bacard, who seems to be on quite a good form at the moment and good streak of performances, he came out of the swim 1 minute 31 seconds down on Lucas Vault. He managed to catch back up to Lucas on the bike, and a battle kind of ensued as Daniel actually then lost it all again in the final kilometres of the bike, coming onto the run 3 minutes down on Lucas Vault. He then steadily worked his way back up throughout the run, trying to eat away at that deficit, and took the lead by halfway through that marathon, and continued on very comfortably to take the win in a time of 8 hours and 14 minutes. Second place actually went to Sten Gustavers, and 3rd went to David Pless.
Well, on the women's side, it was a bit more of a straightforward affair because Daniela Reef absolutely dominated. I don't think there are really any surprises there, but she led from the start and obviously didn't look back. She ended up winning by a whopping 26 minutes in a time of 8:52:20, and under no pressure. It's pretty much a time trial event. But her nearest challenger was Bianca Stura, who finished 2nd, and then in 3rd it was Heine Hartikonen.
We're now moving over to Ironman 70.3 Jönköping in Sweden, and the men's race was won by Elliot Smells, and this was quite an impressive performance to beat 2nd place finisher Patrick Nilsson. 3rd went to Matthias Pettersson.
On the women's side, it was Claire Hahn who won the race, then Pernille Jensen 2nd, and Lisa Norden, the Olympic silver medalist from London, finished in 3rd. And interestingly, she's been working rather hard on the bike, and quite successfully, because she's recently become Swedish champion on the road race and in the TT, and apparently a really tough race. So it could be interesting to see if she's got her sights on a different medal at the next Olympics.
Well, now for our final race of the weekend, we had WTS Hamburg, which was quite eventful to say the least.
Yeah.
In the men's race, it was Richard Varga that led the swim out. No surprises there, but onto the bike, a big pack formed actually. And it was on the 4th lap when Andreas Schilling was leading that pack into a sweeping left-hander. He slipped out and a number of athletes crashed into him. This actually put Johnny Brownlee and Christian Bloomfield out of the race. But we also had a number of the main contenders caught up in that, the likes of Alex Yee, Richard Murray and Henry Schoeman. They lost around 90 seconds, got themselves back on and continued and finished the race, but put them outside of that medal contention. Now at the front of the race, we had quite a battle ensuing on the run. We had Vincent Louis, we had Jacob Birtwistle, Mario Mola, Javier Gomez, Heli Greens, Hayden Wild and Justus Nyslag in a little pack just off the front, really hammering it. And it came down to the 2nd lap when Javier Gomez dropped off the pace of Justus Nyslag, but in the final 400 metres was when Jacob Birtwistle unleashed his attack as we've seen before. He took that win, beating Vincent Louis and Heli Greens taking 3rd.
Well, sadly, the women's race was also affected by a crash, and we saw the WTS series leader, Katie Zaferes, out of the race, but it did leave a pretty impressive but strong pack who worked together on the bike. That included the likes of Non Stanford, Georgia Taylor-Brown. We had Nicola Spirig back in action in that group, Laura Lindemann, I think Taylor Spivey was in there as well. So a really strong group of runners, and they actually had about an advantage of a minute coming into T2. So it did come down to the running race, and Non Stanford put the pressure on pretty soon, and actually only Cassandra Bergran managed to go with her, and it looked like a race between those two. But Non Stanford certainly put her stamp on her place, looking like she's ready for Tokyo. She took the overall win. Cassandra Bergran finished second, and then it was a sprint for third. It was Summer Rappaport for the USA who managed to outsprint Rachel Klamer to take that final podium spot. Now, Nicola Spirig has only just had a baby 3 months ago. She finished 8th, and interestingly, apparently that gives her the tick for Tokyo next year as well.
Oh, that is amazing. Well, we also this weekend had the WTS Mix Relay World Championships. Now, this is always quite an exciting event, and this event actually we saw Team UK or United Kingdom actually having helmet issues in T1 with Jess Learmonth, who led out the swim, actually not able to buckle the helmet. Whatever happened, that put them out of the race. But it came down to really the final leg for that win or that separation between the two final teams, and that was between Team France and Team Germany. Now, this was Vincent Louis and Justus Neischlag. Now, they let out the swim together or gained a little bit of a gap on the contenders. They biked together, and it came down to literally the last few hundred meters on the run where Vincent Louis managed to push ahead, Justus Neischlag taking second. So Team France taking the win, Germany taking second, and Australia taking third.
Right, it's time to have a look at some of your photos. And we're getting such an array at this time of year. I love it. It's definitely giving me exercise envy. We've got this one in from Paul of Dead Tiza Lake in Hungary. I'm going to miss out the town name. I think, what is it? Szolnok. Yeah. He says he's taking advantage of the lake at the bottom of the in-laws garden whilst visiting during the heatwave. I guess that makes it like visiting the in-laws a little bit more fun if you can pop into the lake, doesn't it?
We've also got this photo sent in from Robert, Key West in Florida. Now, they have swum around Key West, which is a 12.5 mile swim in an event, it appears. You can race it or swim it solo or up to 6 people within each team. Now, he did it in a mixed sex 3-person relay, and they placed second. So it seems like you have a support kayak with your team number on it, maybe support to spot the sharks.
I was going to say, who's on shark spotting duty? Do you like have a net sort of around you or something? I mean, that 12.5 miles, hats off, that's a long way, even if you divide it by 3. But
there's a lot of chance to spot a shark.
There is,
sure.
but I guess it's incentive to swim faster.
Next one in from Vincent, and this is from Lake Geneva. So they said they're riding a Storm, which I've never heard of, and apparently it says on it speed to win.
It's good GTN colours, huh?
Yeah, with nice Renault wheels. And they said they can't take a day off training because of the heat wave, so they're riding around the lake to find cooler temperatures and then jumping in after the session.
I like the sound of that. That's a reverse sort of brick type session.
Apparently they're training for Ironman Barcelona, their first one, and they said thanks to us for the videos that have helped them train for it.
Nice stuff. Well, now we've got one in slightly less warm waters by the looks of it. This has been sent in by Nick, and the picture is Little Annie, North Dock. Can you do your Welsh? You can do Welsh.
Llanelli.
That says Llanelli. Where's the C?
That's how you say it.
Okay, I'll let you lead on this one then. But it's 2 new local triathlon teams have joined forces to pick litter around and in our outdoor swimming training facility. Tinworks Triathlon Club and North Dock Dredgers have pulled together over 50 volunteers to participate in the cleanup, and then they did that for an hour and found loads of rubbish, and afterwards most of them got in the water for a training session afterwards.
Yeah, I think I've actually raced in that.
No wonder you know how to say it.
Yeah. Well, now it is time for the Caption Competition, and this, photo from last week was James Cunningham crossing the finish line in Ironman Nice, and he took the win there. Now, we had some great captions coming in. Anthony Lum said, "Yawn, where's second place?"
I like it. Corey Nagler, checking your Strava stats after a good workout, of course.
Very good. Shamilka Kurumbalailutia.
Come on, Mark, you've lost it now.
Did so well with my Llanelli pronunciation. I said, "Dentist, open wide, let me clean your teeth."
Nice. And then our last runner-up comes from Evan McDougall. Hey, James, let's FaceTime second place. Hey, saving you a place here on the red carpet.
But our winner goes to Lassie Vuri, and they said, look, Cam Wurf's just commented on your finisher photo. No! So yeah, I mean, Cam does have a habit of commenting on everyone's finisher photos.
Yeah, he's quite cheeky with some of his comments. I think that's where that one's coming from. We like it.
Very Cam Wurf themed show today. Now, yeah, you are the winner, so do get in touch over Facebook to claim your cap. But now for this week's caption comp photo, and this one comes from the WTS event in Hamburg. It's Alex Yee crossing the line alongside Richard Murray, but Alex is looking a little bit confused.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit probably upset after the crash, and I think he got caught up in that group, so as a result wasn't able to fight for the medals. But what happened isn't really what we care about here. We want to know your caption suggestions for this picture. So take it on face value for your chance to win one of these GTN caps. Just leave your suggestions in the comment section below. Well, I can't believe that is the end of our 100th show, and it's been action-packed. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, so give us the thumbs up if you have, and hit that globe to subscribe to make sure you get all of our videos here at GTN. And if you like looking for the kit that we're wearing now or in any of our videos, you can find that by just following the link for the shop.
Yeah, and we have come a heck of a long way since that first show.
Oh, don't look back, please.
Now you can see loads of our other videos, as Heather's mentioned, by clicking on the globe. But if you'd like to see some of the more recent videos, we've got Fraser's Keltman expedition or adventure. It's something incredible, so please do watch that by clicking just down here.
And if you're new to triathlon and you've got loads of questions flying around in your head and you want a little bit of help with answering them, we've got a video that'll help you just down here.